It's South Africa versus Australia in the second semi-final, and boy, don't we have a cracker jacker on our hands from Kolkata. It is honestly too good to be true with regards to all the Southern Hemisphere teams killing it in this year's World Cup. We saw, of course, India dismantle New Zealand. Will it be South Africa going to their first ever World Cup final? Only time will tell. My name's Avnish Hegde, and of course, I have Gurkirat and Nikhil with me. And Chinmay already getting chatty in the comments saying, boys had a great sleep and now late. I deserve that sleep because we have some great content coming through from that World Cup reaction in semi-finals. South Africa won the toss, guys. Let's just start there. I know I'm horrible by not introducing you guys first, but I'm pandering to the TV right now. And what is Lord Temba going to do? Batting, I'm guessing. Yes, they're
As
batting.
should be that.
Essentially, yeah, it should be that because
But
everyone who's won the toss in Kolkata has decided to bat. Next, I'll start with you. How are you, first and foremost? And then you give me your toss reactions.
when I called for an India South Africa final 2 months back, I'm happy the India bit has come through and how well that has come through. So delighted for that, but very very crucial game coming up for South Africa.
Absolutely. Paji, what do you think? Is it going to be traditions that we talk about in the World Cup? South Africa chokers, Australia getting the job done. They know how to do it. What is your gut feel before a single ball is being bowled today?
Yeah, I feel this is a genuinely a huge toss to win. Might sound cliched, but that's how both the teams are set up. Specifically, especially if you're talking about South Africa. So yeah, I was worried that if South Africa get to chase, then Australia could really take advantage of the slowness of the deck, and this is probably the game where you feel that both the teams have a spin attack which is on par. If anything, you feel South Africa might just have a little more variance in their spin attack. So with Australia batting first and Zampa and Maxwell coming into play, you just felt that South Africa could be under pressure straight away. But now you feel it is more of a even battle. You could also say that it's maybe 55-45 in South Africa's favor. And while we can talk about the history of the World Cups and everything, but in recent times, I was just reading, I think in the last 18 meetings that these two sides have had, 15 have been won by South Africa. So it just depends on what kind of history do you want to see. If you want to see form, if you want to see the history in this year, if you want to see the history of the last 18 games, then you feel that South Africa definitely have the wood over Australia. But if you look at the World Cup history, then very few teams can compete with Australia when it comes to that. So a good battle on our hands. Hopefully, we get to enjoy it today as neutrals. I'm sure Anirudh and Nikhil will probably not agree, but before the tournament, I
No,
had because everyone was saying India as because everyone before the tournament was saying that India as the winners. I just out of pressure said okay, Australia. So if Australia reach the finals, at least some sort of my prediction will also come true. So let's see.
Next, what were you saying?
no, I'm not particular too perturbed by backing any side. I'm here for good cricket. It will be good if they win, and I'm sure they will win. So feel why to think otherwise.
Super. I mean, like the fact that Gurki has touched upon the history there, and whether you look at it from a point of view of the last game that these guys met at the Ekana, I think it was in South Africa, batted first that day, and they absolutely wiped the floor with Australia, 134 runs or something like that, if I remember correctly. And in the grander scheme of things, Gurki has just pointed out the last 18 games. But if you look at ODI history as well, I think South Africa had the wood over Australia. It's just that 99 and that 2007 semi-final that everyone keeps talking about. Even the World Cups, it's 3 apiece with that one tie over there. Keep your comments coming through. Of course, we always like to entertain comments on the cricket.com match preview. Review will be doing the mid innings as well because it is, of course, a big game. And yep, you're welcome, New Relaxer. I honestly nearly missed this particular preview because we came back at like 3:30 in the morning and it's Mumbai, it's Maximum City and all of that. Chinmay, we'll of course take your questions in a bit, or should we just take it now before we move on?
It's already done. He's already got his 400.
Fourth hundred has happened. No, fourth has
You think
Yeah,
happened.
yeah.
you think he can get one more today?
Well, he's batting first, set up well. If he can take care of Maxwell and Hazelwood, yeah, he'll get it.
Okay, super. Let's see if there are any changes for any of the teams
Yeah,
because there are a
Chamshi's
couple.
come in. Chamshi's come in for Lungengiri, and of course Jansen is back, which I mean, he was bound to be back.
You're bound to be back indeed. As always, we'll talk about different things in the preview. And if you guys are just joining us right now, please like this particular video because look, we're still basking off that India win yesterday. We'll talk about it at the end of the show just a little bit because, of course, I've not picked the boys' minds about it, me and them particularly. But you guys can go visit the review that these guys did yesterday as well. But let's, of course, start with Africa because they're quite a Right, guys, because South Africa are batting first, what will Australia do differently this time, Gurkirat, after seeing them not too long ago at Lucknow? Do you think they'll have certain ploys straight up in the power play to Quinton de Kock?
Yeah, if you look at the matchup numbers, Hazelwood has very good matchup numbers, though they are dictated by some battles early on. There, he has had seven dismissals, but all not all of them have been recent. So, and one thing that we have always spoken about when we are talking about how to sort of control QDK or get him out is for bowling the off spinner. So Maxwell, you could expect him to come in the game early with the ball. So there is that. But what also, as a Australian fan, you'll have to be fearful of is that Australia have not taken wickets in the power play. They've probably been amongst the worst sides when it comes to taking wickets in the power play. And if this pitch is anything like what it was in the India South Africa game, then you need those power play runs because it will slow down. And if if Australia are not disciplined enough, South Africa could really get ahead of the game. The only thing again that comes in the picture here is that whenever South Africa are batting first, they've been pretty clear that they are okay to sort of take their time in the first 15-20 overs. They I think got 93 in the first 20 versus New Zealand in Pune and still managed 350 plus. Uh, Against England, they were 18 for 1 after 6 overs, and by around the 20th over mark, they were still around 120. So if the pitch is anything like it was in that game, then even South Africa's tactics with the bat will get tested. However, if it's a pitch similar to what the Pakistan England game had, then I think it really favors South Africa a lot more. So of course, without saying that in the first inning the battle would be to try and contain and get QDK out in the first 10 and then build from there. The other battle that we could really see in is how does Starc do with his second or the third spell, because there has been some reverse on offer, and that reverse swing, he's been good with it. And he's tried to bowl fuller in his first spell, not gotten as much swing and gone for runs, but whenever he's pulled his length backs, he's been able to at least control the scoring rate. So that second spell of Starc, whenever that comes in, whenever there is a reverse swing on offer, would again be a good battle to watch out for. So these two battles definitely are something that will dictate how the first inning goes.
Yeah, I mean, you were just talking about Stark, so I was tempted to pull out the tactical preview that these boys written. It's a written piece, of course, available on the cricket.com website, and lots of good insights, numbers, and of course, graphical
Just
representation.
want to say this, not being biased at all, absolutely not being biased at all. But Anirudh, for both the semifinals, has written one of the most holistical tactical previews that you could ask from anyone. Just the way he has covered various facets of each and every key player, whether it was the for the India New Zealand game or for this South Africa Australia game. It's brilliant. I shared the link yesterday. I'd like you to share the link in the comments once again, because I really feel people should read it and appreciate that, because a lot of work has gone into that preview.
Yeah, it's a good shout out, Gurkirath, 100%. Guys, give us a follow on the app. Of course, all of this is available on the app. And my next question to you is of this particular tactical now piece that's been written by Anirudh, and there's various facets into it. But we just mentioned Maxwell de Kock. How early can you get someone like Maxi on this pitch, which is black soil? It's not going to probably be 350 plus by sure, because you look at it in that India South Africa game or the England Pakistan game, the batters had to bat really out of their skin in various moments in that innings. When you get Maxwell in the power play, just take the bait, because I think Faf also mentioned the point right now, saying that QDK likes off spin once he's settled. So it's about
Yeah.
getting Maxwell early and bowling these lines.
Yeah, 100%. And you'll probably want to just give the Pacers 2 overs each, and see if there is any movement whatsoever. Because again, if the conditions are overcast, if there is some movement on offer, you'd want to use that. But again, as Paji also rightly pointed out, the intent from South Africa has been such that we'll not take undue risk. We'll only go after it if the ball is there to be hit. So I think it allows Australia to be aware that they are not going to take a lot of risk. Let's try and get them to take a few. So that's where I think the game could change a bit more for Australia if they are able to get these two early. And another day, hopefully today is the day where Bahuma comes good, because I've been saying it for almost in every game that the day Bahuma takes off, Quinton doesn't have to take the risk, because Bahuma will ensure that the rate he's hitting the gaps, and he's very good at finding the gaps. He just hasn't been able to do it. Hopefully today is the day.
I like how Gurkira did this for Lord Babuma, because we're all kind of hoping in our own little ways of how this game unravels, of course. Before I get to the X factors, and I'll be interested to see if anyone picks Babuma, at least Nick's or Gurkira, we'll just show you some stats, because cricket.com love their stats, and a few things which need to be, of course, told about or spoken about rather. You talk about lack of discipline, for example. Most runs conceded through wides in this tournament. Mitchell Starc and Marco Jansen are up there, the two left armers on display this evening, 42 and 40 respectively. And that's something to think about, because they have been wavered. I think Gurkirath also mentioned this earlier when he was talking about Marco Jansen and how he's been a fantastic bowler for South Africa, but subtly sometimes he does get his radar wrong. Moving on to the next thing that we want to show you right now, and this is of course stating the obvious, but just putting it out there as well, how South Africa have performed in ICC events since that 2015 World Cup defeat to New Zealand, which of course is still etched in the memories of many Proteas fans. Will it be the first time they make the final? And if they do so, well, Nikhil Popat gets another pat on his back, because he called it 2 months ago, not even 2 weeks ago, which is ridiculous. Moving on to Stephen Smith, because this man is honestly a god in the World Cup knockouts. He's got 450s or something like that. It's quite ridiculous, but he struggles against spin, and that's evident to see there. I'm just going to skim through these stats, but more is available on the cricket.com platform, social media, so on and so forth. So that's about Smith and South Africa and ICC matches. Yeah, you know it. The history, of course, doesn't lie. And even the T20 World Cup or the Champions Trophy, it is not pretty with that regards. And finally, last but certainly not least, a crucial done incoming, you reckon? Quinton de Kock, like we said, did get that 400, but only time will tell if he can match Rohit Sharma's efforts in 2019, where he got 5, which is absolutely ridiculous. Right. I know Gurkira just did this to Lord Bavuma and praying for him, but does he have him as an X factor? Let's find out. Right, perfect for the questions to also keep coming through. But Gurkira, I'll start with you. Who is your X factor? One from each team, please.
Yeah, so I'm only going to pick for this innings because we will be doing the mid innings show. So yeah, I want to go for Bauma, but the two three times that I've gone for him, he's not really. I am a little fearful of picking him. I actually feel like going for Rassi because I feel you know again it comes down to how the pitch is. If the pitch has grip and you need someone to anchor, he's been the perfect anchor for South Africa. And if the pitch is also good to bat, then also he'll be able to hold one end up, and he'll also be far more comfortable if the pitch is better to bat on. So, regardless of whatever the pitch is, South Africa will need some contribution from him, some time at the crease from him, because if that doesn't happen, then you have to rely on Markram to do that anchoring role. And Markram, even though he can anchor, and he even while doing his anchoring, he might even bat at a better pace than what Rassi does, because he did that in the Lucknow game. But the thing with Markram is that he will take a few chances. Rassi, on the other hand, is more chanceless, and he gives you that security. So if Markram's coming in, you want him to come at a stage where it's the 20th or 25th over mark, so that he can settle in by the 30th over and then look to play his shot. So for me, X factor will be Rassi. And for Australia, because I spoke of the reverse swing factor, I think Starc will be that X factor.
Okay, Stark. Let's see how that goes. Before I get Nick's X factors, Nick's and Gurkira, both of you guys can come in here. And Prashant asked a good question. It makes me think about it more because, like Gurkira just mentioned right now, South Africa love batting in this World Cup. They know how to do it. They've got 350 plus multiple times. And Kolkata being a batting first venue. But you throw in the subplot of the overcast conditions and the black soil pitch, Knicks. Do you think actually batting is the best choice right now?
Yeah, it is because it is what is the team's strength. It's where they are at their absolute best in terms of clarity. See, if
Hmm.
it these are not in your control, whether the rain happens or not, whether the conditions change or not, that is not in your control. If you ask South Africa any day of the week, given how games have panned out at this venue, and given that they'll have done better batting first, but they want to bat first every day of the week. So I think they will back themselves to take care of the overcast conditions. It's not that they don't play well in those. And on the big day, like we saw yesterday, you put runs on the board, it has a lot more pressure added to it. And again, if it is something that's something that's very natural to you, why would you want to chase that? So I think it is a tempting thing that you want to chase, but I don't think you can plan for the rain. And
Hmm.
under lights, we've seen the ball do a lot. In the last game, also, the ball spun a lot in the second inning. So even if there is rain, the basic nature of the deck will not change much. So
Yeah.
it may still skid on, but it could still spin a bit. So I think you should back your strength, and that's what South Africa is doing. If the rain is to come, DLS is to happen, it has to happen. You can't control it.
I'll just add a couple of points on that. With the DLS score, the number of wickets that you have lost is also a factor. Now,
Yeah.
even if you consider the worst case scenario, which is that rain comes in between the South African batting innings, just the way South Africa are set up, wherein they are not losing too many wickets, that also becomes a factor in terms of what is the eventual target. So, if there is one team who you think can sort of take advantage of the DLS rule while batting first, it could be South Africa, just because of the way they are set up. They look to keep wickets in hand, and wickets in hand with the number of overs you've batted and everything does become a factor when the target is readjusted. The second part is that even if there is rain, we saw that this is one of the venues where the entire square gets covered.
Hmm.
So it's not that because of the rain that the outfield would get wet, so now the ball will skid on, or the ball the ball wouldn't go softer, and the outfield air has been sort of dry, the square has been dry. So even if there is rain and it's going to be under covers or whatever, you still expect that the dryness in the outfield or the square to remain, which would help the ball get softer. And like Nikhil said, you cannot control rain. It is something which is out of your control. uh, Say if South Africa had won the toss, chosen to bowl, and had rain not come, and then they would have lost, then the criticism would be, why did you move away from what was working for you? So
Exactly. Yeah.
you can't, a lot of you tactical decisions cannot be taken in hindsight. Actually, you have
No,
to take decisions in what is in front of you and what you can control.
indeed, man. And I just think you pointed out as well how South Africa went about their business against New Zealand and Pune. 20 overs is 93, but then accelerated. So, Nitin, your question's been answered there. Keep your questions coming through, of course. Mel will always good to see you in the chat. So, if Australia win against South Africa, just like the CWC 15, they may on go to win CWC. Let's see, man. Let's see. Honestly, let's see what happens. Going back to the X factors, then, because lots of people want to pick your mind, Nicks, about your X factors. Even they're having their own say. Some people are saying Aiden Markram from South Africa, Adam Zampa from Australia. I think a couple of others were saying, what was it, Maxwell as an X factor. Maxwell's always going to perform, but who are you going for, Nicks? Is it someone like Gerald Coetzee, who's playing a World Cup semi-final ahead of Lugni Ngidi?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go for second innings, also, yeah, definitely a very good pick. I'll stick with my FC obsession of all rounders. I think Marco Jansen could be a very, very good one to have today. Again, a venue where there isn't a lot of bounce expected. So, and in he has bowled well with the new ball. And again, he may have, of course, not been at times disciplined, but I still feel if he's bowling in the right areas, there is less bounce. So he could trouble all three of them in terms of Warner, Head, Marsh, Marner Smith, everybody. So I think Jansen is set up well in that aspect because he's also likely to come into bat. Yes, where he bats, whether he faces Zampa or not, that will be crucial. But I think from South Africa's point of view, a guy who could make an impact in both innings would be Marco Jansen. And from Australia, like Padi said, you feel that today is the day that Smith can come through, but it's I mean, it's a risk that you don't know whether you want to take or you don't want to take. Some slightly torn with that part. So I'll go with Adam Zampa because he's going to be massively, massively important because Australia haven't taken new ball wickets. If they don't do that today, then there's a lot of pressure on Maxwell to keep things tight. And there is even more pressure on Zampa to strike. So that's where I feel Zampa could really come into the picture a lot more. So Jansen and Adam Zampa.
Okay, super. We have 10 minutes left in this preview, and of course, I want to get your predictions, guys, because the teams are walking out. The anthems will be, of course, about soon. What do you guys reckon? Gurkirat, let's start with you. South Africa, we know how dominant they've been batting first. I don't think it's a 320, 330 pitch. I might be wrong, but what's your gut feel and what's your prediction? Be specific, like 317. You can't say 320 to 330 and all that. Give me one number.
It's going for 290. Uh, I feel, yeah, 290 could be that target, which
Is that a
also keeps
match winning score?
that is difficult to call right now because we still don't know how the pitch is going to be. But 290 is the kind of score where you feel both the teams would be in the game, even if the pitch is a good one for batting because there is swing early on. So yeah, I'm going for 290.
Okay, Eddie Stark nearly agreeing with you, saying 295 for six. Next, before you give me a prediction, I want to tell everyone to, of course, like this particular video because I noticed that lots of people are watching it but not liking it. Please like it for the love of God because there's more exciting content coming your way on cricket.com. Do you agree with Introspect? Nick's 277, he's going close to your 281 all the time and at a venue where the 281 was scored.
Yeah, very much. That was the first thought, but Paji's already touched around that figure. So I do not mind a 306 all out.
306 all out. Okay, fine. Brilliant. I know they're the Rainbow Nation, but they'll be praying that the rain bloody stays away
Yeah.
so that they can, of course, enter their first ever World Cup final. We'll, of course, talk about a few more questions right now and just pander back to that night because it was a historic night, maybe the most memorable Wednesday for many out there in the Wankhede of their lives. But Divyanshu's just been harrowing us. First of all, I hope you're respecting him, calling him Teddy Bear
No.
Paji Gurkirat. That is for certain. And then take his question about Klaasen, Baji, because he says, except Wankhede, he's been very mediocre. What do you think has gone wrong with him?
He's had, apart from, see, there have not been a lot of innings where he's been needed to, like, he had a failure versus India where I felt he was slightly unlucky with the dismissal, but okay. Against Pakistan, the extra bounce of Wasim Jr. got him. Uh, then in the last game, yeah, in the last game is something that he should have done better at that situation, which is something against Afghanistan because at that point of time with his dismissal, you felt that the innings that then got stuck there. Uh, South Africa could have lost. So there is that, but I'm not sure if it's just due to the pitch or due to his shot selection. I'm trying to recall a few other games.
Against
In the
Australia, I mean, I think it was Hazelwood who got him out, right?
Yeah, against Australia it was Hazelwood, but he had got a start. I think he had got a 30 or a 40. His dismissal
29.
probably,
Yeah.
yeah. So his dismissal probably meant that South Africa scored 20, 30 runs less. But I don't think it's been got to do with the pitch as much as it's been due to his shot selection, to be honest.
Okay. And just coming back to you, Paji, one like equals what today?
Today it's easier to call. One like is equal to the number of runs Demba Bavuma scores. So you just have to kill the like button. You want this guy to do very well.
Yeah, I hope he gets 122 maybe, and that'll be 122 likes for sure. Nick's, your thoughts then, because of course we're heading up to that first ball. I was kind of pandering to that first scorecard. I know Maxwell had both the openers in that group stage game. I know the Cox got 100 over there, but how important is it for South Africa to start well, or do you think Australia should start well? Who do you think should have a better start, or it doesn't matter?
Well, the template suggests you that South Africa has to start well for
Hmm.
them to really lay the platform for the entire game. for us to have a good game. And if it's a low score, then even more reason for that to happen. So max 1 wicket for Australia in the first power play, and eventually I want कि भाई all out हो जाए तो चलेगा, but get to 306. That's the target. So for them to get there, again, it may not go there, but just being very, very, very visual that they have a overpowering score, so that even if rain comes and the conditions are tough, they have enough cushion.
Okay, let's see. 60 for one power play for South Africa, saying Pratik Patel. Pratik, let us know how much you guys think South Africa are going to get. And of course, all you guys, I'll show that at the end of the show, which we have like 5 more minutes to wrap. I'm going to go for between Starc and Paji. So I'm going to go for 293 for 750 overs. I don't know, I'm visualizing it.
Yeah.
Right, because India beat New Zealand and there's some fantastic content coming through, and I couldn't do the review with the boys. Really keen to ask them a couple of things. One, because before the game started, we were all losing our shit about the pitch and all of that. I just want to get your thoughts about that now that we see it in the cold light of day. That's one. And two, what was the most special thing about the match for you guys personally yesterday? Was it Shreyas, Shami, Virat? Talk to me. Nick, I'll start with you here.
Lots of special things. I think it was a very, very good compact team performance. And this is not being trying to be diplomat, but everything was important. Rohit's start was very key. Gill then accelerating was very important. Kohli then batting deep to ensure one day he held up. Shreyas then batting at a very good rate, looking for those aggressive shots were important, and as was KL Rahul's finish. So you really can't nitpick and say that one thing was more important. Similarly with the ball, Bumrah coming back, Siraj starting well. Yeah, Shami's twin strikes were possibly the game changers, but that Kuldeep's second last over, after Siraj had gone for 20, to just give 2 runs in that over, and that too to Mitchell batting, it just told you how far Kuldeep has come as a bowler and how far the side has come in terms of playing the same way in the knockouts, because we've all said the same thing about, they all do it in bilaterals. Can they do it when it matters the most? And they showed that they can. So I think as good as it can get in terms of complete performance.
Yeah, date with destiny. Gurkirat, what's the pitch talk all about? Because I mean, we were kind of, I didn't know what the feeling was in the camp, but we were thinking, no, please don't be a rank turn. It wasn't. But what did you make of it now that we look at it? What a day's gone by.
So I subscribe to what Nikhil said yesterday. He said if it's an ICC tournament, the playing team, whosoever is playing, should not really have the say in sort of deciding what the pitch is. Secondly, the team should trust its quality, and I've always said it, regardless of the format. A slow pitch or a pitch that provides turn doesn't really help the Indian team, because it takes the gulf of the quality between the Indian spinners and the other spinners out of the picture a little bit. So there is that. And now I think, especially for Indian pitches, we can say that even for our pacers, because our pacers are very good exponents of the seam movement. There are many other pacers of other countries and other teams that can swing the ball, but I feel when it comes to extracting seam movement, we have the better pacers. So we should not really worry about the pitches and everything, etc., etc., because the quality is such that it will come out to be supreme. And it's a 50 over game. It's not a 20 over game where a couple of overs are going to put you behind in the game so much that you can't recover. Trust the quality that you have. Don't try and because what it does is it it eventually tries to take away the sheen of the achievement that you've had.
Exactly.
You've traveled across the country, you've played at 9 venues, you've been able to adjust and win anyway. So just don't care about the pitches, and do what you know your best, back your skills, and the result will come.
Okay, super. Now, before this turns into a watch along, we'll end proceedings on this cricket.com match preview. Really, really appreciate your company, gentlemen, as always. And of course, all you beautiful people in the chat as well. Pratik, you said 310, and I will, of course, take that as a good one for South Africa for sure. And all you guys, love your comments and love your energy. Keep it coming through and have a fantastic Thursday ahead. And hopefully, we can get something like Edgbaston in Kolkata this time around. That's all we have. Join us in the mid-innings show. We'll be there, of course, to pick the bones about the first innings of South Africa and how they've gone about their business. Until the next time, so goodbye from me, Avnish Hegde, Nikhil Popar, and Gurkirat. Give this video a like, because if you want to South Africa win and enter their first final, it'll be good to see. Cheers. Thanks for watching.
25.